Okay. The channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Indeed.
Dungeons and
Indeed.
Dragons!
Probably D.
Dragons.
I'm Christiana Ellis, and our players tonight Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn. Oh,
Oh,
and he's muted.
No, I'm not.
You were
You
a second
were.
ago, or else we didn't hear you.
I didn't touch anything.
Well,
Good evening. I
so,
said good evening, and I meant it,
all right.
meaning
Starla
you
Good
Hutchton.
must
evening,
have a
and
good evening.
Starla Hutchton as Carolina Swift.
hello, friends, and welcome to Stupid Arguments.
Jenny Meltzer as Zaleen.
Hello.
Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry Shiny Rock.
hi.
Visual Bit. And John Merlin as Baldu.
I put forth after last time that we change our name to the Arcane 10.
Well, last time, when we last left the Pocket Protectors, Carolina had woken up from her dream conversation with Isilda, learning that there was a plan in place before she was trapped inside the Vidunme deck, that she was working towards finding a way to open up a door into the sealed city of Dinuther, with the eventual hope that some of the innocents currently trapped inside could possibly be released without necessarily setting free all of the evil power inside as well, or at the very least, figuring out some other solution other than what's currently in place. And that plan would require a diamond with infinite facets, a midnight stone amulet, and a ability to create a stable platform in the ocean. Difficult. But you started to discuss what you might need to do to investigate some of those things, and you learned that a diamond with infinite facets, rumored to be located in the Feywild, apparently is connected to Lord Yobert Relent's own past, where upon a misadventure in the Feywild led to him being cursed in an awful way, and it was all over this mysterious diamond. But you also had other business to attend to. Several of you went to the docks and uh, borrowed the town's crab apparatus, or crabaratus, to go and retrieve the armor pieces of the undead dragon, which we'll heretofore call the Hollow Dragon, because that's what it's called, even though we haven't officially named it in canon or anything. But now we have. It's the Hollow Dragon. And you were recovering the armor pieces, and you found some, but not all of them, hoping to perhaps return the next day for the rest. But, so, that's pretty much where we left off. And so I guess I would ask those of you pocket protectors who went down in the Crabaratus, upon returning to Sunia, do you have any business you would want to attend to tonight, or would you probably just go ahead and turn in? After all, Brennan had explained some of the story, and felt like any more detail might need to wait until the morning. But any
Um,
thoughts?
I actually think that I should sit down with Baldu because like he just magically appeared here and he's been with us, but nobody's ever really talked to him other than that brief conversation where he told me that the mistress sent him. So take a minute to like sit down with him. And I would also invite Carolina because she was unconscious for most of his existence with us. So um so yeah. Um Carolina, you didn't really get to meet Baldu except for like in the Crabaratus thing. But Do you have any questions for him?
Probably. But like, where did he come from? How did he get here? What I don't know. I don't even know where to start.
Well, like when one Shadowkai and another Shadowkai love each other very much, they do this special hug, and then an egg gets hatched.
He's
and
not
out I
aware
come.
of my hobbies yet, is he?
I don't think so. I mean, you were unconscious for a while,
It's true.
and like I didn't really talk about you because you were unconscious, and there was a dragon and all that stuff.
I mean,
So-
if you think about it, that's kind of polite, right? Because you don't want people talking about you behind your back, and being unconscious is like kind of like that.
So he said he was like elf-like. Is there something different that I would think he was a dark
He-
elf? Like what is I don't
So he's a
I need some
Shadowkai, right? He's
specifics.
an elf from the Shadow Fae, essentially.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I think you would certainly recognize him as an elf, but perhaps just of a sub variety that you have not been familiar with.
That was my question.
Mhm.
Um You said a word I wasn't familiar with. Like you look a little like Zaline, but different.
well, it might be the haircut. I mean, who knows?
My skin is a lot darker than his too.
Where are you from?
Well, I'm from like originally. I'm from like the. You mean like specifically, or like in a bigger scale? Because
Gonna look at Zaline. Does he know how to answer a question directly?
I don't think so, but I think that's because of the line of work that he's in.
so all right. So big picture, I'm from the Shadowfell.
Did she say like when she sent you here, did she say what she was sending you for specifically, or she just was like, go help this person out?
She's a bit cryptic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she kind of just gave me your name and said, "Don't kill this one,"
Well,
which is like I had to double check because normally it's like, "Go kill this one," and I thought I misheard her to begin with.
right.
So does that mean that you don't kill her, but that doesn't like the rest of us are fair game? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I guess on some level, but like no,
It is
it's
not
it, it's
comforting.
normally like here is a name, go and kill this person. So as long as I don't get your name,
It's like a collector.
He's an assassin?
No, well, kind of, but like, okay,
I'm more
So
like a priest, really. It's just like part of my priestly duties because of, who my goddess is like killing people.
because
You
it's not
get a
just like
name.
murdering people. It's like people who are messing around and being like, yeah, that's death isn't for me. I'm totally not going to do that.
Yeah. And necromancers. Not
Yeah.
big on them either. They're messing around with things.
Liches,
Yeah, that's
get
another good one.
stitches, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's not like, he's just a random assassin come to
I-
kill everyone, but
I'm not out here to kill a whole bunch of people. Like I say, it's a bit cryptic. Here's a name. Don't kill this one. Which I took to mean like go see what's going on and help out.
but
I
I
suppose
don't
that's
know.
one interpretation.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
I study their scriptures a fair bit.
She told me that she was sending help. And then poof, there was Baldur. And like it just, I mean, who else would show up and be like, oh, she sent me?
Well, I could think of at least one person,
Who?
but well, we get like weird visitors all the time that like to, possess members of the party or invade our dreams, or I don't know. We
I
get
know,
a
but
lot of
it was
visitors.
like it was too much of a coincidence
Well,
for
do you
me
guys
not to believe
can you
it.
guys like sense that whole mistress of the dark energy? Like is it a vibe that you just like something you just give off? Like I
I
don't know.
mean,
How does that work?
I'm gonna sniff Baldu and then just be
have
like,
you seen me? Like, pretty much the only way I could give off a vibe more that says this guy follows the Mistress of the Dark is if I was actually the Mistress of the Dark.
I feel like if you were the Mistress of the Dark, people probably wouldn't say about you, this guy follows the Mistress of the Dark. But,
That's probably true, yes.
All they tend to say is shoo, shoo.
Here, have
But
a
she
torch,
didn't-
go lighten up.
she didn't really give you like a purpose or anything. She just said, go and help this person or this being.
Yeah. Pretty much. Like,
Because I don't even know if I'm a person, but
At which point I take her arm and I like squeeze it tight. You are a person. You are a person to us.
I take the other arm and pull out a little dagger and just very gently, draw some, just, a little single drop of blood, movie style.
I
Like,
mean,
yeah.
I have all the properties of a person, but
Oh, you made it sound like you didn't.
but also I don't.
See, that makes it sound like you don't have all the properties of a person when you say that you don't.
She's like human. Well, no, she would be dark elf plus.
Yeah.
Oh, like a subscription model Dark Elf, where you get added bonuses.
Or like somebody made me and was like, you will do my bidding. I don't know.
Oh,
Well, okay. Well,
I mean,
we're,
I
we're
think
getting
that's
off
where-
track.
yeah,
We're not talking.
This isn't about me,
Yes,
but also it is.
we've
but
always
not.
already established that you're awesome. This one, we don't know yet.
But he did a really good job.
well, I mean, how would you define awesome? Like, would
Kind
jumping
of
on
point at
the
Zaleen.
Well,
all right, fair
I mean,
enough.
she was so unconscious, so she didn't get to see the time that you like jumped right on that dragon's back and were like, "Wee-haw!" I mean, that was pretty epic. If you had been awake, you would have been like, "Whoa!"
probably just nods and smiles.
It was pretty cool.
Look, ultimately, if I were here to kill anyone, we wouldn't be having this conversation because I'd already be back home, 3 jugs of meat in, and you're all still alive and I'm still here. So, but I'll level with you. I am from the Shadowfell. That's where I'm from. It's where I live, and I go from plane to plane as is needed and do what is asked of me. But this right about now is the longest I've ever spent away from the Shadowfell in a single go. Like normally I'm there, wherever there is. Like not there, I'm here. I do my thing and I go back and it's like a couple of hours tops. And usually it's me getting pulled back there because I've done my job. But obviously I haven't done whatever it is I'm here to do yet, or I'm not finished doing what it is I'm here to do, which as far as I can tell is help. Yeah, that's why I'm still here. So just think of me as an helpful elf.
Well, I suppose we shall see.
All right then.
And then when Caroline is not looking, I just whisper, "Don't mind her. She's like super protective."
It's all right. Like I get it. I'm new around there, and I look a bit odd, and I just kind of into existence from your perspective. I mean,
So
I've
did
always-
I. Apparently. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm also like you and I came here to murder a lot of people. I don't know. I do what she tells me to do.
Well, so say we all.
Precisely.
So I would imagine it's starting to get late into the evening. What were Nedry and Zinhorn doing as everyone starts to kind of settle in? We don't hear you again, Paul.
I'm not muted.
Okay, now
I
we
can
hear
hear
you. I don't know what's happening, but you
I
talk
heard
and
him
we hear
before.
nothing. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird.
Okay.
I
That
saw
is
your
Universe.
mouth
weird.
moving and no sound until you then followed up by saying I didn't do anything.
All right, let me start over. Zinhorn is wondering if maybe the dragon armor, the hollow dragon, is somehow undead, and he's going to research the parts of the armor that we have to try and see if there's any hint as to whether it was actually undead, and that's why it kept coming back to life.
Okay. So when you say doing research, are you you're looking around like in the books that they have kind of in the library here, or are you trying to find some other source or?
I'm looking at the books in the library. I'm working with Sorashana and Sequential, and if I need to do like a detect undead spell or something like that, I'll do that.
I would actually have told you when we came back that we did detect undead, that we did check and everything, and that it came back with nothing.
No. So you detected when you were fighting it that it is undead. What Nedry did was detect nightmare, and
Oh,
it
that's
didn't
right.
have that. And so, at least based on looking at the armor pieces now, you don't sense any sort of Denutherian nightmare energy in it. But when you were fighting it, it did register as undead. Just to be clear.
Okay.
I think part of what's happening is that I'm seeing your video slightly out of sync from your sound, Paul, or at least that's how it's appearing to me. And so that's what is maybe was confusing the issue, is that your
Okay.
sound was showing up after I'm seeing your mouth start to move.
Okay, that could be really weird.
Okay.
Um,
But in any case, so Sequential had actually started preliminary work on decoding the half of the journal that you recovered from the temple, but he can certainly help with some of this if you want to bring him in.
yeah.
Okay, so I think the two of you look up and try to find what you can about undead stuff here. Yobert has a fine library as these things go, but it's not like, you know, the Pashan University Library or the library back at Emerald Arboris. But go ahead and make an investigation check with advantage because he's helping.
Okay. First roll was a 10, and the second was a 12.
Okay. With a 12, you don't know necessarily too very much. What you found are some examples of things like what can be known as like death knights that kind of become undead and are like particularly bound to a certain set of armor. There's also things like sets of armor can be haunted by essentially ghosts, and this doesn't seem to be quite like either of those. But you think that if it's bound to return, it may very much be kind of like ghosts can be, which is to say, you might destroy a sort of manifestation of them, but
Mhm.
unless you find a way to sort of set the the haunted location or object at peace or re-sanctify it somehow, it could still return. You're not sure how it works when it seems to be multiple pieces. So I think that's probably about all you get there.
Okay. And Zinhorn would have gotten a long rest, right?
Well, I mean, I was assuming we are just talking about this as like stuff before going to bed. So I
Okay.
guess you would have had a long. Well, so it depends, I guess, because you didn't go with everybody else when they
No,
were
I didn't.
going to the down in the Craberatus. So what would you have been up to then? Would you have gotten the long rest before?
Uh, yeah. I mean, they
I
set
mean, you
off in
would.
the They went and saw the Craberatus and then set off the next morning. So,
Um, okay, well, I'm losing the timeline a little bit. What I'm saying is they went and did the Craberatus thing, and then
yeah.
came back, and you had all talked, and now it's the evening.
Okay.
So if you had a long rest already, it would have you had if you had a long rest already, it would have been during the middle of the day, and you wouldn't be ready to sleep again tonight.
Okay. Then I'll just sleep tonight.
Okay. Uh, so I think what were you up to, Nedry?
I think Nedry was going to look at the thing as well, but having detected no nightmare energy and seeing there's a lot of people intently look at it, he'll leave that for others to look at in case they
Okay.
come up with something, and just do a couple of hours of spell research.
Okay. I think at some point, sequential does kind of just. So are you like? We'll assume you're still getting a long rest, but I think. You know what? Never mind. I think he'd wait until the morning. Doesn't matter. So what I'll say is, once people start to stir, sequential does come in and kind of like briefly get your attention and just says, as soon as you're ready to talk about it, I found some. I'm not finished decoding the entire journal half, but I did find a reference to what I think might be the star amulet that Carolina described.
That's interesting. What was the context of that? Was it just a mention, or is it mentioned in
It's
terms of being used?
It's itemized as one of 3 relics that the reclaimers recovered from their expedition and brought back with them to Pashan. One of the others was the circlet. It was the circlet and the star amulet and what looks like a piece that would go on the top of a staff. And at least the parts that I've read so far don't give any kind of indication of what they thought it would do. They just mentioned that they were all 3 made of the same sort of dark green stone and were intensely magical.
Right. Does it mention where they put them, or no? I suppose it's just what the reclaimers had inventoried. But there wasn't anything like that at the mansion that I recall. Anyone?
Nothing I recall, but remember the circlet wasn't there either. The circlet was buried in a box under the train station.
Right.
Right, was it? I'm misremembering now.
Yeah, that's where Tanglefoot I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
no, he
Isn't
sent
that
you
where
to
we
get
found
the
it?
book.
The book, right.
Circlet,
Yeah.
I thought, was in the Reclaimer.
Circlet
Yeah, the
was in
circlet was in the
Reclaimers
Magic
Academy.
Mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we witnessed the scene of
Yeah.
the dwarven headmaster putting it
Yeah,
on. I think.
absolutely. Yeah, see, I remembered right. Yeah, the
Mhm,
circlet
yeah.
was found in the Reclaimer's Mansion. I was going to say good because that was part of my whole lore thing was that they recovered it and they had
My
it. No, that's all right. But
Well, that-
but
that
you
means
did
that it
not
made it
find
there.
the staff piece or the amulet at the mansion though.
It does mean that it made it to the mansion, but after that, who knows?
So, do we know, were there no other survivors from the Reclaimers Academy?
If any, if there were any, we didn't see any indication of them in the little sort of reflected visions. But I suppose it
They're
seems
only
like maybe some of that was Isilda's psychic influence somehow, or just the trauma of all of the things that happened there. So if anyone just kind of ran away before all that went down, or just wasn't there when it happened, we wouldn't
Who,
know. I don't think.
I mean, we
who,
know of two, but I don't think either one is going to be able to give us the answers we want.
who wrote the journal?
It was the headmaster.
The headmaster. So, I feel like we were pretty thorough when we were going through the academy, but there was also it was, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. A little place in the wall where we found Zalene's key. So I don't know. Is it maybe possible we missed something?
So are you kind of just having this conversation all out in the groups, just like anyone would walk up, or you didn't find like a secret place or anything? Just to be clear.
I would
Um, I
think
I
so.
think.
This is after the long rest and everything, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is in the morning, and I think they're getting breakfast ready downstairs. But I'm just saying that like anyone who's around could just walk up and join this conversation because you didn't
You mean
find.
like Ivy or
Well,
or
yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to clarify because
yep.
we kind of just started a conversation, and I'm just making sure that if you guys had wanted that to be secret, you would say so and not deny the fact that Ivy then walks up and just says, well, from the history that I've learned, the Reclaimer's primary purpose, of course, was to go out and find the powerful and potentially dangerous magical artifacts from where they might be found and misused out in the world and recover them to be either stored safely or put to better use. And so I dare say that if they recovered some other magical artifacts but only had the one at the mansion, they may have turned the other two over for official use.
Does the Emperor have any kind of staff or anything?
Well, I've not seen him to use it, although he doesn't appear in public that much these days.
I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be the Emperor.
Well,
It
and
could
of
be
course,
anybody.
our emperor today is not the same person that was the emperor back in when the Reclaimer's mansion was destroyed.
Well, I was just thinking maybe it could have been like passed on, like some kind of, I don't know, like crown jewels or something.
It
You
could
know,
be.
that they
I
always have
I
real
could
treasure.
absolutely get in contact with our friend, of course, uh, and ask about the provenance of the amulet or the staff.
They might have been buried with the emperors before, which would be good. They'd be easy to find.
I mean, quite correctly, I am rather due for a lengthy report in any case.
Mm.
Hmm.
I don't suppose it would hurt to ask. But then they'd probably want to know what it's for, and I don't know that we really fully know what it's for. We know kind of what it's for, but not really the details.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose it does rather matter, I guess, what you intend to do with it if it is found.
Well, I think that's the big question.
Well, if the magical theory is sound, it's worth studying it at least to know how it might interact with the shield. Maybe other uses for it too, actually. There may be other uses for it too. Oh.
He's got that look again. He always he gets that look when his head is filling up with questions.
Well, he was about to ask if he does this kind of thing often, but I
Oh
think
yes.
you just asked answered that for me.
Well, so in any case, I certainly can go ahead and send. I, I need to write up my proper report, but I can certainly send an inquiry about the amulet to see if there's any known information of its current whereabouts or nature. But I do rather imagine that if they do know anything about it, the next question for me will be, why do you ask?
I think that's a big conversation that we all need to have together.
Uh,
Well, on the big picture, the fate of everything, I suppose. That's probably not sufficient an answer, though.
Government does tend to prefer specifics, in my experience.
Well, because we know for this specific thing, the purpose of it is to kind of open a door of sorts without disturbing the whole of the shield. I still don't think the shield is a permanent solution, but I haven't thought of a better one yet. I mean, if
It-
they would all just own up and pay their prices, like none of this would have happened, but can't make them, can we?
hmm.
I found in my kind of line of work that you can pretty much make people do anything with the right application of uh pain. Yeah, let's just call it what it is. Um,
Mm, that wouldn't really be my first choice.
I mean, it's usually not their first choice either. Not once they're in the middle of it. Um, just saying. You all
Well,
have your things, and I'm sure you're all very good at what it is you do. And it sounds like a lot of what you all do is magic, and I don't really have much grounding in knowledge of that, but I do know my way around, swords and bows and being unseen and all that kind of stuff. So just throwing in my tuppence.
And so Evan chimes in and saying, "Well, and I mean, like from everything we've heard, I mean, it sounds like the people we're talking about are not like someone who's refusing to, pay their income tax. We're talking about people who are going to try to take over the world by draining people's souls or something."
that is one of the concerning reasons of opening up the door, and not necessarily knowing who's coming through.
And that's the problem. Is how do we know who's innocent and a victim in all of this?
Well, one of the theories I have is that the magic itself, while it doesn't extract a toll right away, it does affect you. And if I can tinker with the detection of the what we've called nightmare energy, I might be able to actually tell if someone has a magical debt. It's not much, but it might help to at least understand who would be under that definition innocent.
Well, I think that could get kind of complicated because it had gotten to a point where people were figuring out how to put their debts on other people. Isn't that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Of a sort. I think Nedry, having studied the all of the formulae and so on that were on those slabs, would understand that it's not quite the same thing as we might think of like credit card or financial debt, right? It's more a little bit. It's a little bit more like if you need fuel to keep burning a fire, you don't need to necessarily keep putting in your own fuel. You can steal somebody else's fuel, right? And so it's a little bit more like that in that regard, as opposed to something like legal debt.
It will be complicated. And it kind of brings to mind, well, the idea, well, the nicer idea that, shoot, I've forgotten his name. Oh,
Which one?
shoot. The artificer,
Oh, Rupino.
Rupino.
Mhm.
Jeez.
There's a lot.
But
Of
the idea that Rupino had about seeing through the veil may also be something we can create. Not so much a door yet, but create a window. And that way we could at least see what's going on. It's been a long time since all of this happened. There may not be anybody alive, or there may not be anyone who hasn't already racked up quite a debt in a certain sense.
So I think sequential says, well, do you think we ought to revisit the idea of bringing either Trandanel or Rupino back? I mean, I know they left in the first place and maybe they got corrupted, but like if we could help them or persuade them to go back, they could maybe help share the load with Tilitha. And maybe they have some other ideas or something.
See,
like that
sequential, this
idea.
is why I missed you.
Like, miss me, I've been right here.
I know, but you don't travel with us anymore, and it makes me sad. But I think we should definitely consider bringing one of them back, if not both. I know nobody wants to bring Rupino back because he's powerful, scary, but Trendanel, if we bring him back, we're definitely going to have to try to get that nightmare out of him.
Yep.
They might both have nightmares.
It's possible,
Yep.
but I
think we
mean,
need to do it.
Rupino is like super powerful magic user.
Whose last theory was to destroy one place to make another one safe.
Yeah,
Well,
that's.
Did-
I mean,
d-
go ahead.
yeah, in destroying one place, he would be destroying half of this other place as well.
Yeah, I think that Trendanel might be our best bet right now. As much as I secretly love Rupino, apparently. I do think that Trendanel is probably the better option.
At the very least, he might be able to help Tilitha. If he's willing to. If he's not, I don't know if any of Baldu's tricks would be enough.
Well, and then there was the druid too, right? I mean, he wasn't dead or anything. He just was kind of running away or something. He's like hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
We did
I-
sort of
I-
promise to leave him be, though.
yeah, but I had a dream recently. And it was a dream of the Eternal Waltz, and like I was with my family and we were celebrating, and he was all alone by himself in the bleachers watching what was going on, and he was looking straight at me and he was very sad. So I think he might start coming around to the point of view that he actually needs to come back to the world and help Tilitha.
That would mean going to find the Eternal Waltz again, which is a good thing. I got that lock of gross lady's hair that turned into a pin that Nedry's been wearing around on his robes.
It'll help.
Yep.
Maybe.
There's also possibly finding the other two. Hestia and Ustok.
Maybe Carolina could find Hestia
Would I do that?
because maybe you're one of her relatives.
So above that. It's a little difficult to explain, but there was a thing and somebody else didn't want their heritage and they did this ritual thing and sort of gave it to me. So I don't know that there's any direct line there. I don't know how that works. Um it's a little I'm still processing it, but I mean it's
Too bad they don't
it's
have like some magical DNA thing that you could just put your DNA into and it shows you like everybody you're
Well,
related
Arcana
I
and
might
the
be able to, in a way. Yeah. I mean, I could study your magical signature, I suppose, and try to alter the spell that normally looks for an individual to look for someone else like you or the magical signature that you have. It wouldn't be very good distance, but it might be something to try from time to time if we think we're close, but it doesn't give us a good starting direction, only a final one.
that whole time like I'm totally giving side eye to Baldu like is he gonna ask?
I'll be
I'm
back
not
in a few.
Nope, Boulder's just going to stay tight-lipped.
I don't know. Maybe we should figure out how to bring Trendonell back. But the problem with that is he's been dead long enough now that we're gonna need some serious magic to bring him back.
Strictly speaking, I believe that Zinhorn cast Gentle Repose on him, so that extends the like the deadline.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay, because he said that he was regularly casting that, like every time it came up, he was going to recast it. So does that
Right. So
keep him like he's only been 10 days dead?
yes, he would still be within that window.
Okay. So I don't know. I mean, we could bring him back.
part
Did we
of me is on the fence. I feel like it has to be both or neither.
Okay,
Well,
but I mean, that's a good point, but we don't know what we're going to have to deal with by bringing Rubino out into the open. I mean, Trendonell told us not to, but then Trendonell's corrupted. I wonder if there's a way, Nedry, your ability to detect nightmares. I mean, is there any way that you could kind of penetrate that diamond and see if there was any nightmare energy within the facets?
well, unfortunately, unless the object itself carries that nightmare energy, everything within would be basically a pocket dimension, I think.
Yeah.
Much like the way the tower works or any of the other items that were created, they aren't really penetrable to the outside. I could try going inside. I don't know how I would do that, but I could try doing that. But
I
that
don't
might be
think
just
you
as
should.
bad.
Yeah, don't do it.
Given that it's bound with a very powerful life magic spell, it would probably go very wrong. It would be interesting, though. Now, if I had access to Midnight Stones, I could probably do a lot more like that, given the extra power boost.
Sunia chimes in with the from everywhere voice and just says, "I know you're all having a very busy conversation and it's very important, but there is breakfast downstairs. There's pancakes."
Are there pastries?
I believe that we have some bagels, but the pancakes are of blueberries.
Okay.
I don't like pastries.
So, are you
So,
continuing
we're
your
walking
conversation
and
here?
talking.
Yeah, all right.
To the food.
All right. Yobert and Brennan, like Brennan is kind of fussing around with getting all of the the food laid out, and Yobert is at the table and he's got a a light meal, but he is there eating, and he nods at everyone. Good morning.
Good
Hello.
morning.
How are you feeling today?
Uh, a bit better. I apologize for last night. I was startled, taken aback a bit to find such an unexpected connection to my own past in our current investigations.
It's it's okay. I don't think anybody here blames you. It's all right. And you don't really have to talk about it right now if you don't want to. As you're ready. If you want to ever.
Well, although I think were it not relevant to our current proceedings, it might well be something that I would have kept to myself. However, it seems necessary to our current mission that I at least be able to tell you what I know about the diamond that I encountered and the place where I encountered it. If it seems that obtaining this gem might be something you're looking to do.
Nedry opens up his book and gets ready to write notes.
If it helps, you don't necessarily have to go into detail about maybe some of the surrounding things.
No, I think it's honestly probably good to talk about it a bit. Brennan and I, of course, have discussed it because, well, I mean, he was there for part of it, so there's parts that we didn't need to say out loud, but I haven't talked about it much, and perhaps it's better not kept as some secret, as though it's something I'm ashamed of. It's not a proud moment precisely, as it represents something of a defeat, certainly a loss. But nonetheless, I don't believe that we acted shamefully, or for that matter, really committed any grave errors, save perhaps of foolhardiness, going in where we were not adequately prepared. And so in the effort of preventing you all from going in the same condition, better that I talk about it. So I think the short version of the story is that I, as have been previously discussed, was once an adventurer, somewhat like yourselves, although I'm certainly willing to confess a bit more mercenary. We took jobs, and so we were hired by a man who seemed like a very important, high up nobleman in the upper tiers of Pashan, above even the lofty levels of House Relenth. But certainly I know the man better now, and he's a pompous, occult buffoon. Had we only known then that he had merely heard a legend and wanted to own it. But nonetheless, he hired us to find and obtain for him this gem, which he had heard of as a bit of a folk tale, but with just a bit of a grain of sand of reality in there to irritate and create the friction that makes a good story and not just a fairy tale, if that makes any sense. It felt all very much like the sort of abstract legend, except there were just a few details that seemed to give it weight, like it might really be there. And sure enough, it was. And we traveled to where it was rumored to have found itself. There's a region in the Feywild known as the Moon-Shadowed Sea. And it's a region that's supposed to have a bit of a metaphysical, magical property that lost things find their way there. Certainly the ocean currents there in the Feywild all do seem to lead to this strange little magical sinkhole in the ocean. But even things lost in other planes sometimes find their way there. And so we traveled there, and there is an entire city of sorts there, populated by people looking for lost things, people scavenging, people trapped there, stranded, and people and fae who just choose to live in a magical locus like that. And one of those individuals is, I suppose you could call her a witch. She is generally referred to by the people in the city such as it is, as the Lady Despair, although I believe she has a number of other names. Banshee Maker was one that stood out to me. That one, I think, ties right into the despair theme. The idea is that she leaves her victims wailing like a banshee. We had a whole plan. She was an evil witch, so it felt morally acceptable to steal from her. We thought we were recovering a valuable artifact from someone who didn't deserve to have it, and we were utterly unprepared for the possibility that our target was in the possession of an item that allowed her to see the future in a sophisticated way. The truth is, we never had a chance. We were caught. It did not go well. The details of which I suppose have at least been broadly shared. I hesitate to tell you too much more about that part of it, save for the fact that I cannot ever return to the Feywild, nor make any attempt to communicate with her, lest the curse kill us both. So that part of it I will leave at that, if that makes sense. But to be certain, I warn against really any dealings with the Lady Despair. I hate to send anyone there, but this does seem like the stakes are much higher than just a payday from some wealthy noble. And so though I dread the idea of sending people back to the creature that hurt me and those I loved so badly. But at the very least, you should know what we did not, which was that in seeking this diamond, you should know that it is capable of granting its bearer the ability to see the future, which makes it rather difficult to steal.
So, this witch, I gather that you at least you spoke with her, interacted with her in some way.
Yes. It was a sort of torture. This is how I came to understand so thoroughly the way the diamond works, because you see, her favorite game is to trap someone utterly and then show them with the diamond that there is no future where they can escape without agreeing to her terms.
What what does she do with the diamond aside from just have it? Like did hmm.
Uh, I wish I could tell you more. I am certain that she spends a great deal of time with it, but her her motivations, like many in the Fae, are often inscrutable to mortal creatures such as we.
Um, kind of in line with that, your through your interactions with her, though they were awful. Circumstantially, if you had gone in under different pretenses, do you think that she could have been talked to?
Yes, after fashion. She certainly presents herself not merely as someone who might be talked to, but as someone who might even be helpful. As mentioned, the Moonshadowed Sea does attract the lost, and therefore also those seeking what is lost. And there are many that find themselves stranded there. And she presents herself to many of them as someone who can help. But if my experience is anything to go by, the price paid for that help will almost certainly be not merely much harsher than it appears at first, but ultimately, possibly, not worth even the price of escape. That seems to be her modus operandi, so to speak, is find desperate people and make them despair. I don't want to make it sound like this, the Moonshadowed Sea is this entirely oppressive place. There are parts of it that are quite beautiful, and the magic there is incredible. It is underwater, but there is property in the area that even creatures that normally can't breathe water are able to there, and somehow the density or the gravity works differently, so that the movement is not what you would expect. There's amazing piles of whatever you might expect to be found there that is searched through and incredible treasures turn up there. That's why it's populated by many scavengers who seek to find what they can there. But it is simultaneously extremely dangerous. There are many powerful and dangerous individuals there. There are fake creatures who see meddling in mortal affairs as a sort of game. Even if it's not a malicious one, it's certainly not done with any mortal creature's best interest in mind. It is a place that I might have wanted to return to before it all turned out so badly.
Well, part of me wonders if it's worth just going to sea and having no expectations and just see what happens.
The one word of caution that I would, well, I guess I have a couple actually. But first and foremost, it is crucial to not end up there by accident. And there are many forces which will conspire to make it accidental. But if you arrive there by accident, you cannot escape without permission.
Whose permission? The witch?
Well, she would present it that way, but I suspect there's something more to it. Now, there were fey creatures who sought to provide other methods of escape, but I was not there long enough to know if their promises were true or not. But the key is, if visited with intention and under your own control, which can be done with care, you can leave by the same method. The key is to not, for example, as you sail on a ship to this region of the ocean, they have actually created docks around the perimeter, around the border of this area, where once you sail past those docks, anything solid that would normally float will no longer float. It will sink down in. And so they've created docks, anchored docks around that area, first of all to mark it, but also to allow people to descend under their own control rather than sailing in accidentally or having a shipwreck or these sorts of things. But at the same time, the ocean currents themselves conspire to draw people there, whether they wish to go there or not.
Well, I mean, we do wish to go there. I think we do, right?
I'm just suggesting that you approach with caution because, for example, it may be that you have arrived there, you are standing on the dock preparing to descend by rope ladder down into the area under full control, and a gust of wind will blow you off your feet and you will fall in instead, at which point you are there accidentally.
What about a teleportation? Would that
I believe that that would qualify as far as arriving with intent, but I don't know the means by which you could arrive there without having been there before.
right?
Thinking outside the box a little bit, is there another one of these infinite faceted diamonds kicking about somewhere else, somewhere a little bit less risky?
I cannot
You know,
rule
maybe.
out that there might be, but this is the only one that I've ever heard of.
All right, so you don't know, like, if down the road in the store, like, I could just go in and drop a couple of 10,000 gold pieces and walk out with one.
Well, that
Well,
would
was
be
it made
easier.
or was it found?
Oh, yeah, can we make one?
I wouldn't begin to know how. My understanding, part of the legend supposes that it actually came from one of the Titans from before recorded time. In fact, it is actually part of the legend that the unusual properties of the water there are also the result of a slumbering Titan beneath the whole operation.
Do you have a copy of that legend or its name so I can look it up?
I'm sure we could find a copy. I don't have it off the top of my head.
I'd like to study it. There may be other clues.
Certainly. I mean, as a legend, it is one of those things where there are multiple different versions, and it tends to only be the few key details that seem to be held in common. But
Well, that's
nonetheless.
more of Carolina's kind of research then.
Hmm.
How did you get there? How did you enter the Feywild?
Well, this was, we arranged for transport to the Feywild, and there are many different ways to approach there, whether traveling through the tree or any number of different portals that can be found. And we were. He kind of briefly exchanges a look with Brennan, and he says, and then continues, we were acquainted with a druid who was able to find a portal for us. And once we were in the Feywild, we arranged passage by ship to the region of the waters.
Just out of
do you
interest.
know, the name of the witch that has the diamond?
Yes.
Yeah. So, welcome back, Paul. You missed some key detail
Okay.
here.
All right, I'll
the
catch
short
up.
the short version is the witch who lives in this place in under the water of the Feywild is the Lady Despair. She has the diamond. She can see the future. She's real bad news.
Got it. All right.
And the moon shadowed sea is a place where lost things go,
Mhm.
essentially, including people.
This air diamond we'd be searching for. Like, are we talking like is it the size of a pearl or is it the size of a melon? Like, how big's this thing?
Um, it's about a foot in diameter.
Right, you are.
So certainly, in some respects, just from a pure first glance, you wouldn't necessarily mark it as anything different than a glass blown sphere. But certainly, upon closer inspection, its unique properties become apparent.
Right. So, is this the part where we'll start throwing in ideas for plans? Like, I don't know how you guys do things as a group. Like,
Well,
That's-
this seems like the kind of case where a plan doesn't really mean much because anything we could possibly plan, she would see and therefore be able to thwart. So,
But also, he just told us literally that we need to have like intent and a plan. So it's kind
well,
of
that's just to go there.
right.
It's true, but what I would suggest also, though, is that not having a plan, the the diamond does not allow her to read your minds. It sees the future, and so as a result, even not having a plan for how to do it does not prevent her from seeing what will transpire.
And Master always said that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So maybe just the perfect plan. One that doesn't necessarily involve something that would make her angry.
He
I
was
confess that I have given some thought over the years in moments, considering this question: what could have we done differently? And it's not an easy question, right? It is, because from first blush it seems impossible. No, the diamond does not merely show one possible future. It shows you specifically the response in changing of the future of any decision that you might make. And so she looks and makes her decisions based on what will produce the future she desires.
Right, but is she looking at the thing constantly? And
Uh,
I don't mean that
I-
like figuratively. I mean, is she literally like sat looking at this thing?
it is a good question. I wish I could tell you. I feel like if it were, to the extent that I can understand her psychology at all, I can only imagine that she would be obsessed with the thing.
That makes
But
sense.
she
I
does
mean,
do other things, so she can't be looking at it constantly, or at least didn't when I was there. The only other piece that I can imagine being it in any way helpful is that when she tormented me by showing me that there was no decision I could make that allowed my freedom short of accepting her bargain, I realized years later that all of the futures that she showed me were no more than a day away. I don't know how far into the future it can show. And so it's possible that if she were to see a future that within the range of her vision seemed like the desirable one, and only later were to be revealed as something else.
so I think I have a plan. Probably won't work, and somebody will probably find some holes in it. But first step, we need obviously a glass sphere about a foot in diameter, a fake infinite faceted diamond, as it were. Second, we need to figure out where she would put the real one if she ever thought that it was going to get stolen, like if a bunch of pocket protectors were to roll up to her place and try and steal it. And then step 3, hijinks. Step 4, profit, I think. Yeah, so something along them lines. Basically,
We switch the fake for the real one and then try and get away.
sure, that'd work too.
I mean, if we could get our hands on the real one, we could see the infinite possibilities of how to escape.
Well, I think, although difficult, a solution might lie in the problem. When she showed you those things, Yolbert, you had no choice. But imagine if she looks into it and also realizes she has no choice, then she would give over the diamond.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty is in figuring out why she would have no choice. And short of destroying everything, which honestly is on the list of possibilities, I'm not sure what that would be. We have at our disposal a very powerful artifact. Well, not exactly at our disposal, but not exactly correctly working, but it could be modified. And if it took aim on the Feywild as opposed to the material plane, threatened its very existence unless this was to be handed over, there would be no choice if she wished to exist. And a day later, maybe something changes.
I think Ivy coughs, choking on a piece of toast a little bit, and just says, "Are you proposing that we hold the Feywild hostage?"
It would be an effective lever if a little bit overmuch.
Kind of like the plan. I'm not a fan of the Feywild, so yeah. I guess my thing with that is it wouldn't work, right? Because it only that something like that would only really work if you were willing to pull the trigger.
So to
Quite,
speak.
says Yobert. It's like she would simply use the diamond to see whether or not you follow up.
But
Right.
if she doesn't know if it's going to happen in the next day, she has to weigh the consequences.
But also if we do blow up, the Feywild, which again, not necessarily opposed to, but we don't know what would happen to this magical diamond.
Or our own plane.
Well, we
Or
do.
that.
That's the weird sort of loophole. Because the only way out is that she hands over the diamond. So we know where the diamond would go. And it would be safe with us.
I am not sure that I can fully endorse a plan that even involves the possibility of blowing up the Feywild.
I'm not on board with this either.
No.
The other, I at the same time, I don't want to diminish what you're saying, Nedry, in the sense of trying to imagine a scenario, how to create a scenario where she would have no choice and yet would be unable to prevent being put in that scenario.
I mean, unless we let Rupino out and he goes back, to the lab and he's like aiming stuff and blowing places up. I mean, unless that was in the equation, I don't know how else we would actually be able to pull something like that off.
What?
I admit it's a rather larger lever than I would prefer, but I think that whatever we do plan to do, we have to be 100% certain about it and committed, because she'll see if there's any other choice.
Well, and I was kind of getting to that. What if we could sneak a peek at this thing ourselves and see which is the outcome that leads to us hightailing it out of there with said diamond?
Well, there's
What?
no guarantee that there is one.
What if
I don't like them odds.
There is.
what if we could scry on the diamond? Do you think we would be able to look into the facets?
I don't know for certain because it was not within our capabilities as a party at the time, but I believe that such a powerfully magic area and heavily enchanted region such as that, I suspect is impervious to scrying, at least in any normal capacity.
She would probably have wards and stuff like that up against.
Well, if it's a
Scrying
magical
anyway.
item, they usually need to be directed by someone.
Okay.
And the remote presence you might gain from scrying doesn't, I think, I'm still studying it, but I think it does not allow you to be there, only see there. If you could do anything else remotely, that would help.
I still reckon our best bet is to find out where she'd stash it. I'd hide in that safe hidey spot. Wait a day. You guys come in, try and steal it. She runs, puts it in the thing. I wait more than a day, and then hightail it out of there.
I think maybe We should consider what Lynn suggested yesterday. Like maybe we could talk to her and do it with intent, like not get there by accident, not have any weird accidental conversations, but go there with the intent to ask her if we could use it. We don't need to keep it forever. We're just going to use it. But if it has to stay there forever, that's not our fault. We don't know.
I mean, do we stand a chance of fighting her and winning?
Well, I it's hard to say because I think you all are quite powerful. You're accomplished as a party and fight well together. I've seen it. So I think I could imagine a scenario where that was the case, but by the same virtue, she would see such a thing occurring in the diamond and seek a way to prevent it. And so that is an obstacle that would probably need to be surmounted.
So maybe we go there basically with the talk or fight
I
option.
think I don't want to rule out the idea of talking. Certainly, if a fight could be avoided, that would be preferable. But as I've described, personally, I cannot imagine what possible circumstance would persuade her to simply hand it over.
Hmm. I mean,
She
getting
makes a
killed
lot
might
of
be.
bargains, but even that I think would be difficult for her to find some price she would be willing to accept. She would certainly not do it for free.
Hmm.
I'm not sure for that she would do it at all, but she does like bargains, and fey creatures can sometimes be.
Tricksy fuckers.
Well, yes, but I was also going to say prisoners of their own nature.
Also true.
So, do we know? Usually in these things, there's a counterpart to one entity. Like, think of, hmm,
You're talking
I
about somewhere in the on this plane that is like just reach out through the weak points and grab it.
well, no, I mean, what if she has an enemy?
Oh,
I'm quite certain she has many.
all right.
One
So we
that,
could raise an army.
well, but I was thinking, what if somebody that's um similar to her nature and quite powerful themselves? I don't, but I don't know anything about her or her history.
Right. So I just want to make sure I've got your idea clear. Is you want to bring in an enemy of hers who is strong enough to defeat her and would then likely keep the crystal ball for themselves.
No.
Okay, because like the way I said it, it didn't sound great.
I was going to say
Well,
all of that except that they give it to us because they're nice.
what I'm saying is potentially someone is in possession of some information that could give us leverage in this situation. Someone who doesn't like her very much, that may have a vested interest in seeing her reign end, however you want to phrase it.
It
She's-
bears the question about whether we can do more research to find out more about her, either to find out who might be on the other side or even what she might want more than that thing.
Brennan looks over to Yobert and says, "You think the Titan?" Yobert says, "I think we don't know enough he's referring part of this is part of what I mentioned before, that the nature of this place is theoretically the result of a slumbering titan underneath it all. If there were to be any entity more powerful than she, certainly a titan would meet that criteria. But the titan's motives, even if it could be awakened, would be certainly even more inscrutable than hers. Be no way of predicting what it might want or do if it were to wake. However, to be certain, were it to awake, it would disrupt her whole little operation she's got going.
So
And the power of the moon shadowed sea is from the Titan,
Yes.
where lost things go.
maybe we could wake up the Titan and make the Titan think that she was attacking it.
Well, maybe even just waking it would be enough to throw her whole business out of whack. But how do you wake a titan?
Well, if my mythology and celestial history is correct, it might be bad to wake a Titan.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a particularly good idea. I mean, I think we've had worse ideas, but that one's pretty up there, I think.
All right, but what if she looked into her many faceted diamond and saw that somebody was trying to wake the Titan? That would cause her probably to panic, flee, and then while she's doing those panicky fleeing things, then she might be a bit more vulnerable because she's not really concentrating on what she's doing or what she can see so much.
But it has to become inevitable. She has to see that there is no other choice. Fear won't come if she knows everything that's going to happen, or ways away around what's happening.
Well, if we wake the Titan up, there's going to be a whole lot of confusion and chaos.
And a whole lot of consequences.
What if, moving away from the Titan thing here, what if we just created so many inevitable outcomes that it is paralyzing for her and she just kind of...
Inotherian magic. Oh, I wish I knew more. It would be perfect. It's all about possibility. And if you could scramble those possibilities, the effectiveness of this device would be nullified, or at the very least heavily weakened to the point where she'd be questioning it all the time. Oh.
You know who might be able to help with that?
Professor Tinthus?
Rupino.
Oh.
Talitha.
Oh, maybe. But Professor Tinthus has been studying probabilistic magic for a long time. He might have some idea. Before we go waking up the corrupted paladin or the nihilistic wizard. I'm just saying.
If I were to work with him, I could probably advance his research considerably, but it would take a little bit of time. On his own, I think he's reached a sort of plateau, and Iselle didn't seem to have too much of an opinion of his work either. Hers was much more advanced.
I think at this point, Ivy chimes in to say, well, the other thing I would probably caution is just that, not that we shouldn't bring in any expertise that we believe would be helpful, but a lot of this information is, as we might say, not currently publicly known. Some of it which is probably best not publicly known at this time.
All right, so once we get his out, we kill him.
That won't be necessary.
He's already dead?
No, he's an academic. It's an entirely different kind of life. You might not actually be able to kill him. And not physically.
Oh.
You probably could do a very good job of that, but
Oh, thank you
academics
very
tend to
much.
live on.
Who are we talking about?
Professor
Dintus.
Tinthus.
He's an
Oh.
academic, and academic life tends to live beyond the physical.
Well, the other
It's
thing
one way
is
of being
that
immortal.
probably he could also be encouraged to maintain discretion through the means of a grant of some sort. But I just thought I would
But we
mention
also
the need for awareness on this
Discretion.
issue.
we also have options that aren't going to require special grants from the emperor or whatever. And if we could use those first, it might be better because we have less chance. Like if we go to Talitha and Nedry sits down and talks to her about some Denutherian magic stuff that could be helpful, then we're not creating a public panic.
You hear a sort of a clang, 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 and you look over, and it's actually Evan, who's kind of knocking on the big armored torso from the dragon. He said, "Also, like, I mean, I know that's all really important, but like, don't we have more pieces of this to find?"
Yes.
I think you can go in that machine without me this time.
Okay. You don't have to go.
Nedry looks visibly relieved.
So, I mean, the only problem with that is if we leave them for someone else to find, and we don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know if we have the right piece.
Right. Stop it. Right now.
At the very least, we should gather up what we can
Get out of there.
and observe.
Well, okay. So maybe Nedry should go and speak with Talitha, and the people going to round up the dragon parts go and do that. I think maybe Sequential might be more of assistance than anybody else. If you guys want to take him along.
For the record, I think once you got back and learned that the sort of the parking brake was on equivalent, essentially because it's kind of the second time, and we kind of established that as a joke in the fiction, but I'm allowing it as true now. I think for the purposes of just marching this thing around, you would not have to keep making rolls. You would have to still try to find the parts, but you wouldn't have to keep making rolls to operate it. Assuming we have the same operators, like, you know, someone new having to learn it would be a different matter.
Although Sequential shouldn't have much of a time because he can just talk to it
That's true.
directly.
Yeah.
I think we should also figure out a plan for bringing Trendinel back and then getting the nightmare out of him.
Well, when you went into the kitchen to get some more juice, Lynn had a really good point that maybe we shouldn't bring back one without the other. That maybe we should bring them both back rather than just bringing one of them back.
We've never tried extracting two nightmares at the same time, though.
Yeah, I don't think the pipe works that way.
Well,
But we
It
don't-
only works in one at a time.
We don't even know if Rupino has a nightmare. We don't know that for certain.
Well,
We're
there's at
just
least
assuming,
one,
right?
and possibly two. It would still be safer to bring them back one at a time.
But we have the means to bring them both back at the same time, and I feel like sometimes that it's really, really weird that we found a diamond that was like bring somebody back and also release this nihilistic wizard
Well,
at the
I've
same
been
time.
thinking a little bit about that. It does seem weird. And the fact that Chandonel was trapped in what looked like Rupino's device also was strange timing. But there are two others that are part of this cohort. And it wouldn't surprise me if they set those things in motion. If Ustak really is a seer, he or she might have foreseen what was to happen and to stop Rupino. Or if Hestia has been hiding and Trendanel was somehow shaking that tree, maybe it was better to put them away safely, not kill them. Know that they aren't, well, okay, Trendanel is dead, but that was an
No,
accident.
we
Trendanel wasn't
killed
dead until you
Trendanel.
guys.
Right. That was an
By
accident.
accident.
That was not something intended in the plan. He was living before we accidentally sort of got him killed. But they were put away safely. So maybe it is more of a bigger puzzle or even a message from those who were here before. Parts of the message you're missing, obviously.
Maybe we need Ustak to go to the Feywild with us. I mean, maybe that would be helpful. I don't know.
At the very least, I'd like to know what the fate of those other two were at some point, if not soon.
Right. But I do think we should really consider freeing some people because they could be helpful. Maybe they won't, but maybe they will. We don't know, and we won't know until we do it.
Well, there's another person we could potentially approach, although I don't know if freeing them would necessarily put them in the right mind to help us. But at the very least, they know a lot more about this than we do, if not
You're talking about
necessarily in
that
the greatest
guy.
way. The adversary.
Percival Kangers? No. He's so yucky. His
know.
name says it all.
That's why I don't use it.
But I mean, that's a whole other thing too. I mean, right now we could just be like, Rupino and Trendanel, here you are. Percival
Well,
Cankers, we got to figure out how to even
cons-
get there.
Consider there are three things we are looking for. Artifacts similar to what we'd found before. Artifacts that the adversary was also looking for. He may have actually found one or two or know where the other two are.
Do you think if we help him, he would help us, or would he just be crazy all over?
If he's wearing that circlet, there's no way I trust him. I
But
didn't trust him before, but even less now.
The circlet
Evan,
can be
Evan-
removed.
Evan leans over to Baldu and just says, they're talking about this weird little guy that had kind of a whole messed up body thing going on. And he kept showing up to tell everyone that they're too stupid to have the stuff that they were having and doing the stuff they were doing and trying to take it. And
So you killed him.
No.
Oh.
no, more like he got away with some of the artifacts that they had.
But now he's like trapped in some kind of weird dream trap thing, and he tried to get us to help him, but we were just like, no, we gotta go. Bye.
In essence, he's trapped by many nightmares at the same time.
Yes.
I understand all of those words individually.
He is, I mean, ever since I got here, he's been like secretly trying to lure Nedry into meetings and telling him that he's dumb. Like he's
He
too dumb
tried
to
to-
understand Dinuthir. Just,
He
to
unleashed a fungus from another plane to eat us and feed us to a demon lord.
but instead it ate like a whole building, and there were
And a
like,
whole
people
bunch of
trapped in
people.
there.
Killed them,
Which
like,
goes to
100 people.
demonstrate that he has knowledge that we don't. We're not stupid, but he does know more than us.
Mhm.
And if we can
I would rather
try to
free
rem-
Rupino first.
I just
Wow.
reach into my pocket and I like pat Rupino.
I also don't know why the adversary started what he started, and that makes me wonder. I'm wondering if he was on a path similar to our own and it overwhelmed him, or if, for example, the same messages that we might be getting from Hestia and Ustak, he got, but interpreted differently.
Or he's just crazy.
But I just want to be sure on this. This adversary, as you say, he calls you stupid, steals your belongings, brings a fungus from another plane to try and kill you. Fails in killing you, but kills a bunch of people who were innocent. And you haven't killed him?
No, because he keeps escaping. Like he's
He's-
not stupid. I mean, as much
And
as
he has
he's a
wields
jerk,
considerable power from the things he's absorbed.
like he possessed our friend Sequential and stole this circlet that we had that was really powerful and cursed. And like he just asked me, like, can I see that for a second? And it was sequential, so I'm like, yeah, sure, here you go. And then he just stole it. And then Nedry and I tried to chase him down. He was all messed up.
He's bad
super
news.
messed up. He's just bad, and he's crazy.
It's difficult.
Well, I wonder if we could find him and get the mage hunters to pick him up and throw him in a jail cell where he can't do any harm.
Ooh, we do have the Emperor friend.
Ivy said, so it's true, as you recall when you were all at Peshon, that we do have quite a dossier on Percival Cankers as a sort of known crackpot and troublemaker, but he does seem to have upped his game recently, and at least last information I had, he had gone off the map.
Quite literally, I think.
Yeah, like we had this weird mutual dream of like a network of weird, twisty, like I don't know, ley line type things, and he was trapped and tortured, and I don't know, we just kind of ignored him after that. But
Well, what were we supposed to do?
I think he wanted our help because he knew we were the only ones who could help him. But you know, you don't go to the people that you're like, you're too dumb to live, and be like, could you help me though?
You know,
Well,
the
it
ones
is
you
a
keep trying
recognition.
to kill.
Right.
It is a recognition that we are smarter than him in that way. Not that he would admit it.
That's his way of saying, I'm sorry, I called you stupid.
Sort of.
Yobert, I think, so he speaks up and he says, well, there's no question that let's say he does not possess what we would call a conventional way of thinking, and is clearly quite dangerous. But I think the thing that we have never quite been able to divine is what are his actual intentions. Because it seems every time he shows up, he is accusing you all of not being the right people for the job and saying that will mess everything up. You do not deserve the things you're holding. But we don't know what it is exactly that he is trying to accomplish of his own.
Or for whom. There was a voice beyond the circlet. I don't know who it was. It was very powerful. And I think it exists. I don't think it's just an offset of the item itself. And I don't
Well-
think it was just the echoes of my own thoughts.
You don't think it was part of the curse?
Well, Sequential
Not sure.
also says, just in case anyone forgot, that circlet was just one of the 3 artifacts that they brought back from the temple, and one of the other 2 is the star pendant that Lynn dreamed about.
Do you think maybe he might have it?
Well, that's what I mean. He was looking for these things and might have found one, or may know where the other 2 are, or can find them. He seems to be able to find them.
He's the kind of crazy person we could send to, you know, steal from a witch if we could get him to work with us.
I don't think that would go very well.
Mm.
I think it would be inevitable that he would be caught, unfortunately.
I just flashed on from the recent Godzilla movie, the gif of "Let them fight."
Yep.
Meanwhile, tickling a titan downstairs.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we should. We have so many things we need to do. We just need to figure out which one of them to do first. I mean, we
I
can't
think the-
go to the Feywild first.
I hate admitting this, but I think the one we have the best shot with is probably Percival.
Trendino?
Percival
No, Percival
Cankers.
Cankers.
Oh,
The
right. That's his name.
adversary.
At the very least, we could learn more. Something also overcame him, so
Where is Trendinel's body, by the way? I don't remember.
In the
where we
tower,
put
last
it.
I knew.
Is it in the tower?
Yeah,
Have we been doing, like,
casting a
Weekend at
spell
Bernie?
on him
Mhm.
every 10
Like every
days
10
or
days.
less.
Yeah.
Have we been doing Weekend at Bernie's where like he's in a chair today, he's on a shelf tomorrow, he's like
Mhm.
crouching under a table the next day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely doing the Weekend at Bernie's thing with this guy.
Sometimes we take him to the mall, you know. But so we try to go after Percival.
Do we even know how?
well, if it was a shared dream before, maybe a shared dream with intention would allow it to happen again. I'm not exactly sure. Plane
maybe in the
shifting is-
tower. I mean, the tower has that dream connection vibe. Maybe it would help.
There's also a spell that I've been researching.
Hmm?
It is about entering dreams.
Well,
Well, my vote is for bringing back Trendinel only first, and trying to get the nightmare out of him. That seems to be the simplest course of action, with
And then
the
we could
least
march him.
amount of what could possibly go wrong.
And then we could march him right over to the temple and sit him down next to Tillotson and tell him to stay put.
Well, just to be clear, says Brennan, just as far as order of operations are concerned, I mean, do we think that the dragon armor is that good? Do we need to finish that first, or is it like?
I think we need to do that before we do anything.
I just think we shouldn't forget.
No, definitely not.
Like that would be pretty much a problem. I think if we're in the middle of trying to recruit Trandinel or something like that, and then all of a sudden, oh god, the dragon's back.
Maybe
Wait.
Sorshana and myself and Sequential can work on some sort of containment in case. I just remember the intelligent color.
Do you want me to shrink the head one more time so that it's like this big?
I wouldn't want to lose it.
Well, no, we could put it in a box or something. I mean, it's going to be really ridiculous if it does come back and it has a teeny tiny little head.
Tiny little head.
It also depends on how it comes back. We still don't know, for example, how Tanglefoot achieves it. His body discorporates every time he dies, but this one just fell apart. And whatever fire was illuminating it from the inside is also gone.
It's the
So-
armor. Maybe the armor is cursed.
We can do more
I
examinations
know
of it.
you tried to see if it had any like nightmare energy in it, but maybe we could detect curse or
Well,
So-
I'll just cast detect magic anyway. 'cause it's right here.
Something we didn't do because Paul wasn't here last time. So Zinhorn, I don't know if you had tried to do any sort I guess you did do a role of trying to read up on undead, but I guess you didn't. We didn't necessarily have you pray over the armor itself or anything. I don't. Never mind. I'm kind of talking myself around in a circle.
Yeah, I mean,
Never mind.
mechanically, I don't know how I sense undead.
Well, so I mean, you can. What I was kind of just getting at is the difference between you trying to read up on things like this versus trying to actually channel your divinity and pray on it and that sort of thing.
I can
could-
actually do that with you because I have Eyes of the Grave, which allows me to detect undead within 60 feet.
So yeah, we should. I should try and turn the undead or destroy the undead.
So, I mean, do you want to just do that? Say
Yeah.
that we go and detect undead?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Nedry will ritually cast detect magic because I realized I didn't memorize it today.
Okay. So, to be sure, the as far as detect magic is concerned, the armor is powerfully magical and is with necromantic magic is might be expected. Um, I think that we're not gonna like literally have you do the turn undead feature, but I think with Zaleen and Zinhorn together, how about we get a religion check with advantage from whoever it would like to make the roll?
My
What's your
religion's plus
modifier?
0.
Actually,
Oh,
now we
mine
know
is
it's
plus
magic.
5
The
Yeah,
lowest I can get is 14.
on a religion check.
the
Bald,
lowest.
you should
Wow.
totally get it. Mine is a plus
Right.
5. So
Reliable talent is the
Expertise.
thing.
Yeah.
I do have +9, but that's not important now. Nedry will also start ritually casting Identify on the object.
Yeah,
dice
I
as
think
well.
in this context though, I'm looking for not even so much the knowledge, but actually trying to like make connection with your own deity as opposed to like what you might have read in a book.
Okay, so that would be
oh, I
like
rolled a 12. Oh, did you say with advantage?
Yes, because the two
Okay,
of you are
hang
doing
on.
it together.
yep.
Oh, that's not even any better.
Oh,
I rolled a 9 and a 12.
yeah. I think that you. I think that you specifically get the sense that you don't have the complete picture because you don't have all the pieces.
All right.
So then we got to go get the rest of the pieces.
All right, ladies. Time to go armor shopping.
So who wants to go? Baldu,
I'll go.
I'll go again because I paid attention in class.
I don't think I'll fit.
You might. We
Yeah.
had 4 of us in there last time.
Yeah, it holds 3 medium or smaller creatures with like easily like there's seats for those, and then there's like a place someone else could stand, and then it would just be difficult for any more than that to like fit or move around inside.
Okay. Well, I'll go with you.
Okay.
I'm going to concentrate on my liquid bronze armor and have it make me a set of goggles and a
Yeah.
rebreather.
Well, for that, I mean, anyone who's in the Crabaratus is fine. They don't need to breathe. But certainly anyone who doesn't want to be inside who can breathe water could ride on the outside of it, of course.
Yeah, I can't breathe water. But
I could make you water walk if you really
I am a
want.
creature of lightning, fire, and the air. And you want me underwater. Okay. I mean,
It's
I'm
fine.
going to support the team, but I'm not happy about it.
Okay,
I'm
so
not as freaked out as Nedry was.
Baldu, Zaleen, and Zinhorn in the Crabaratus. Is anyone else like what are Nedry and Carolina doing while they go off to do that? Are you accompanying, just not inside? You're waiting at the docks, or are you doing something else?
Nedry, what are you up to?
Also, there's the matter of like, how are you planning to find the pieces?
Locate object.
Yeah, I'm just going to study the pieces that are here. I'm wondering if we bring them all together, if there's some reaction, and I'll know as soon as I can. And I'll also be ritually casting Identify. And the moment that it becomes enough of an item together, I may know more about it.
I think I'm gonna stick with Nedry just in case something starts to happen. I'll be a second set of eyes because he tends to get engrossed in things. And while I am not a particularly great fighter, I can maybe poof us out of there before something bad happens.
Not a particularly good fighter, but usually gets the kill.
Okay. So we're going to go and get the Crabaratus. And when we go out, we're going to go like in the general direction because we know where we were.
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and then
Yeah.
once we get closer to that area, I will cast locate object.
Okay. You definitely find that you are Mortimer has repaired the gearbox from where it was marginally scored from operating it before, but it's repaired, and he's shows you carefully how to not do that this time. You go out to the general vicinity that you had found the other pieces and cast the spell, and you realize. So, which part are you searching for?
I'm looking to see. We found a wing, the torso,
Uh,
2 legs, and 1 arm, and the head. So I'm gonna focus on the wing,
Okay.
the other wing.
So you focus that on that, and you cast the spell, and you are a little bit surprised to realize that, first of all, you do detect it, but it is almost out of range and moving.
Oh shoot.
It is going to be out of range imminently.
Okay. Punch it, Chewie. I mean Baldu.
yeah. Well, funny
Now that
thing
we know
is,
how to drive.
yeah.
Go
Funny thing
faster.
is, like as I was meditating last night, it came to me that I studied on watercraft a bit, so I now should be a little bit even better than at. So yeah, let's go. Well, stop talking. Let's go.
All right.
Alright.
Uh,
Hold on, Zinhorn.
so yeah, you begin following after where you detect this piece, and you discover that you are making ground, like you're catching up, but not quite as fast as you would like, because it is still moving. And I think that you can conclude after a little bit of this that, like, this is not like it's like drifting in the currents. Like, something's moving it.
Safe to assume it's moving further away from shore.
Correct. Yeah.
What if it's one of those giant octopuses?
Well, I wasn't scared before.
No, I'm not scared. I'm
Are
just
you-
saying, like, what if that's why it's moving? Like, maybe an octopus has it or something.
Are
Maybe-
you gonna-
Octopus is very tasty if it's roasted properly.
Maybe it's now an undead octopus.
Well,
Saying.
just saying
Hollow octopus.
before you go too far, and because we're getting close to the end of the session, how far are you gonna go before you're gonna check in, or what's the plan here?
I mean, I don't want to chase it too far. Do you want to see if we can find the other arm? And just let that one go?
No, let's go after. I mean, if something else is trying to get a hold of these and carry them away, we should find out who we're in competition for to get the armor
Well,
and go after them.
It's probably just a squid. I mean,
well,
we can try.
For all
it
we
might-
know, it's Percival Cankers.
I was coming to that conclusion myself. You done did stole the words right out my mouth.
I don't think it's Percival Tankers, but maybe it is. I don't.
I mean, I've never knowingly met the guy, but from what everyone was saying, he sounds like the kind of person, if you know what I mean, who do this
Right.
kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it's going faster than we can catch up to it. It seems like.
No, you're catching up, just not quickly. Like, it's
Okay.
like it started off at like 950 feet away, and then after like a few minutes, it's like still 800 feet away. So like you're having to get further and further from shore, and you don't really know what you're walking into, right? So that's why I was asking, is kind of like you don't really. You're getting further and further away from where anyone else could help you, and you don't know what you're chasing.
Yeah, and did Carolina give us the sending stone before we left?
I imagine so.
Okay.
It does make sense that you send the
Yeah.
people in the submersible off with a way to call for help.
Who's got the walkie? Who's got the walkie?
I'd be like,
Okay. A walkie and a walkie.
Carolina, there's something moving this thing.
I think it goes to
Um,
Lord Yobert, doesn't it?
Well,
Is that
Oh,
his
yeah.
I mean, usually he's who's been holding the other one when you contacted.
Okay, so scratch that and restart.
Copy there, Lord Yobert. We're gonna request some air support.
Yeah, we're gonna need some help out here. The wing is moving farther away from the shore, and we don't know what we're heading into.
Mhm.
You can reply to the sending stone.
I think that that's a big 10-4, Zaleen. We're gonna get old Sunya up here in the air and heading on you towards your direction post haste. And I think that's probably a good place to go ahead and call it for tonight. And the battle map that I made for this encounter will wait for next week because everyone talked instead of going after the dragon armor, which is just fine. It's all prepped for next week, is what that means.
Woo!
Is
Oh
everyone?
wait,
Oh wait.
didn't you say you weren't going to be here next
I
week?
am on vacation next week. I am out of town.
Okay. Well, we will have to wait until we find out what happens.
He
what
can just
is
drive.
stealing those armor pieces.
I have internet. You're on-
You're on vacation. What else are you gonna do?
So
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
probably do something on stream next week. We'll see what it is when we all meet once again for more adventure on so many levels.
So many levels.
Deep depth levels.